Welcome to this week's On the Fly. I'm your host, Gene DeFilippo, and our guest on the podcast this week is the very successful Director of Athletics, Michael Kelly. Michael, tell us about what's going on at USF, because there's a lot of things going on, but if you would, start with football.
Sure. No, a lot of things going on. But Gene, I first want to say thank you for having me on. And really, as I think I've told you before, I still remember even when you were the athletic director at Villanova and you were on the basketball. No, your team was there at the first and second round. And I was early in my career. I was serving as tournament manager at the basketball tournament in Winston-Salem. And you were there. Your team was there. And I barely, I'm sure I interacted with you and everything, but you wrote me as a sitting AD, and me, somewhat of an entry level person, a thank you note of for even us hosting the tournament and being good to your team, and it registered with me forevermore that you would take the time as an AD to write to a entry level kind of guy, and it always stuck with me, and I've tried to remember that along the journey. So thanks for being a great steward of just first class in terms of how you do things.
Thank you. I remember that well, and I was sitting near John Swafford there in Winston-Salem, and I said, who the heck's running this thing? This is the best run tournament that I've been to. I mean, I've been to Kentucky, I've been to Tennessee, I've been to a lot of them. So you deserve that letter, but thank you for bringing it up.
But as it relates to USF, we just appreciate all that's going on. We've got a lot of momentum as an institution. We just recently reached AAU status a couple of years ago, which is a real credit to our current president and presidents past, all our board of trustees, to really put academics and research first. But hand in hand with that, we've just got great alignment with our current trustees and our president, and really making a great emphasis on athletics. And it's showing on many of the things that we're able to either plan for the future or some of the success that we're having. And you mentioned football, and while we were struggling a couple of years ago and really needed to kind of get refocused, we focused in on some facilities we knew we needed to improve. We built the new IPF about 2.5 years ago. That was a great new step forward for us. And now we're in the midst of just breaking ground this week on a brand new stadium and on a new operations building that the football program will utilize. So that'll only propel us more. But simultaneous to that, we hired a great coach in Alex Golesh 2 years ago. He's had 2 years at the helm here at USF. We've been able to have winning seasons. We had one win the year prior to he got here. We've had 2 winning seasons in a row, won 2 bowl games. We're one of only 15 programs in all of FBS to have done that in the last 2 years. So while we're certainly not satisfied, our goal is certainly to win the American Athletic Conference, to be able to try to find our way into the pathway into the CFP is our goal. But we're sure are making great progress under Coach Golesh's leadership, and certainly the things we're working together on to provide for future Bulls.
Yeah, Michael, there's a lot of young people and even some experienced people out there that are saying to themselves, how do I get to be a director of athletics? How do I get to be at an institution like USF? Tell us your story from college on.
Well, sure. I mean, mine was probably a little bit of an unorthodox journey to the chair, at least untypical. I mean, a lot will always be consistently all the way through a college athletic department, or maybe a conference office, maybe a specialist in development, maybe a specialist in compliance or coaching. For me, I graduated from Wake Forest. I did some things as an undergraduate there, which was helpful. But when I went to graduate school down at St. Thomas University, at the time back in 1993, there weren't too many sport administration programs. St. Thomas was one of the better ones, along with Ohio U and UMass and a few others. But that was just a great way to kind of break into the industry. Obviously, it was some good classes that helped get a little more specific. But my first job was an intern with the Florida Marlins. I bounced from there to work in communications with what was called the CarQuest Bowl back then. I had a chance when I was doing that to work behind the scenes at the Super Bowl in 1995 at what was then Joe Robbie Stadium. It opened my eyes to just all the detail work that goes into hosting events, and it just really inspired me. And that pathway and that love for attention to detail and events ultimately became a majority of my path, because from there I went to be the director of operations and facilities at Wake Forest, where we were able to host a whole slew of ACC and NCAA events, which was great. And then we were able to, and during that time, we had a lot of success in basketball. I was able to work with Coach Odom and We had a guy named Tim Duncan that was pretty good, that got us to the Final Eight a few times, and it really kind of helped a lot. But then there was an ad back when there was papers, Gene. There was a paper called the NCAA News that they used to print and send to you, and there was an ad in there to be the executive director of the Final Four in 1999. This was in the early part of 1998 when this was sent. I didn't know a soul in Tampa Bay. I didn't know anyone at USF. I had just ran the first and second round that we had talked about a few moments ago. And then ultimately it led to, hey, I applied for it. I had no idea if I'd have a chance. And lo and behold, I got that job and worked hand in hand with Bill Hancock, and Paul Griffin was the AD down here at South Florida. And we worked together to host the Final Four that was held in 1999 on the men's side here in USF. And that just gave me a whole love for things. I thought that would springboard me into a higher level position in college, and ultimately it did. But it really springboarded a chance to work in events. And after the successful Final Four here in the Tampa Bay area, they were having a Super Bowl here in 2001. And the civic leaders that were pleased with what happened in the Final Four then gave me a chance to conduct the Super Bowl. Love doing that, and all the different project management, all the variety of things that go into something like that, working with the NFL. And that ironically became a unique thing. I ran the Super Bowl here in Tampa in 2001. Ran the Super Bowl in Jacksonville in 2005, and then again in Miami in 2007. Mixed in there a little bit, I did have a 2-year stint at USF, as I mentioned, with Paul Griffin, and then later with Leroy Selman, who was the AD, and both of them were great friends to me. And we were just starting the football program. So it's funny to look back that we were still 1AA at the time. We were just getting started. Our football coach was in an office trailer that George Steinbrenner gave us after spring training was over. So we were very, very humble roots back then. And to see the way the USF program had continued to evolve when I was gone was a lot, and I'll circle back to that. But after I left USF, I talked about the 3 Super Bowls. Then we kind of got tired, because when you're in a host committee situation with Super Bowls, you kind of move every 2 or 3 years, and we're looking for a little bit more stability than that. And fortunately, Commissioner Swafford gave me a chance to go to the ACC and help get the football championship game solidified and off the on the map at that point in time, and to conduct all aspects of football and broadcast operations. It was great to work side by side with him when he was the chair of the BCS back when that was a volunteer position, and working with all the different conference commissioners on that, and working with all the football coaches and ADs of the ACC was just a great experience for 6 years. Then that ran from 2007 to 2012. And then in 2012, when the commissioners all decided to begin what is now known as the college football playoff, I interviewed with all 10 commissioners to become what became the COO of the college football playoff, and was responsible for working hand in hand with Bill Hancock, who certainly was our chief executive officer and kind of handled the whole thing, certainly as it related to selections and everything to go with the organization. I was charged mostly with identifying the games, setting up the business plan, which bowls were involved, and then setting up the whole national championship kind of situation and all the game ops that went along with that. So that was a fascinating thing to work with from scratch. Extremely proud to work hand in hand with so many that have made that a successful thing. And that was awesome. And in 2018, after 6 years at the CFP, this chance to become athletic director at USF opened up, and it really was personal for me, because going back to someone that gave me a chance at a young age, and Paul Griffin, to run the Final Four here, and someone like Leroy Selman that let me be his right hand as well. And especially since Mr. Selman passed back in 2012, it was personal to come back and have a chance to continue to build on a great legacy here at USF. And that's why I'm so proud of the success the programs are having, the success that we're building a legacy with this stadium, and it really inspires me. So it's kind of been a full circle thing. But as I said, the reason it's unorthodox, because it's unusual for kind of event management or project management to be the pathway to the athletic director chair. But I think it's good, because I think what I've been able to do is, like, maybe I'm not a master of any one discipline, but I'm proficient in, I think, dozens of them that allow me to really relate well to my staff, to anticipate their needs well, and ultimately listen to our coaches and to our student athletes and to our administrators to see what do we need to be successful. And then it's my job to try to go get as many tools as I can to put in their arsenal and be successful. So it's a joy. It's a joy to serve the student athletes, to serve our staff and coaches. And while there's challenges in the industry right now, as we all know, I still wake up every day inspired and wanting to make sure we do the best by USF.
Michael, I don't know of anyone who has run 3 Super Bowls, a Final Four, football for a conference, and start up the ACC football and also the NCAA, well, the college football playoff. I don't know that anybody anywhere has done that. Wow, that's a lot, and congratulations. That's a
Well,
heck of a resume, my friend.
well, thank you. It's been, I mean, I do pinch myself sometimes to be a chance to work with all those different projects and all the people that have helped pour into me along the way, and me getting the chance to work with people along the way. It's been a real thrill. So I know how fortunate I am to have gotten those opportunities and to make the most of them to kind of create something that I really wanted to do, like we're doing here at USF now.
Good. Talk about USF for a minute. How many students do you have?
We have 50,000 students. I think that puts us as the seventh largest institution in FBS.
Wow. And you said that the school has come miles and miles and is accredited now as one of the top research and educational institutions in the country.
Yeah, reaching AAU status is a big deal. Only 78 universities at the in North America are recognized with this, and certainly a lot of Ivy League schools, a lot of ACC schools, Big Ten schools, and to be up there. And I think we're the third fastest institution to reach that level. So it kind of speaks to the enterprising and bold nature of the university. It was born in 1956, so
Wow.
in a big scheme of things, to kind of come this far, so to be born in 56 as an institution, to start football in 1997, and to now be building a stadium that will open in 2027 in our 30th year of football is pretty cool. And while in the world today, everyone wants instantaneous success, I still say that's still pretty rapid growth, and I appreciate people's patience as we've grown as an institution, as an athletic department.
That's amazing. Okay. Tell us what it takes to put together the planning to build a stadium. I mean, you get an idea, you go to your president, you go to your board. All right, take us through some of the steps that it is taken to begin putting a shovel in the ground in the stadium this spring.
Yeah, and some steps were taken even before I was here. There was some good feasibility studies that had been done. We certainly refreshed them and looked at them again after I got here. But there was always, ever since we started football in 1997, a thought of having our own stadium, but there wasn't enough money to make it a reality. We're fortunate to have a situation with what is now Raymond James Stadium to play in, so you could rent it and at least have a place to call home as we grew and built our resources for the athletic department as a whole. But really, just beyond doing some of the preliminary work in advance, it just took bold leadership, mostly from our chairman, Will Weatherford, the chairman of our board of trustees, who on the day we were breaking ground for our indoor, which was kind of the first thing I wanted to get done when I got here at USF, he boldly, while everyone had talked about it before, maybe over those first 30 years, he was the first to say, we are going to do it. And he kind of challenged everybody. He placed myself and our foundation head, Jay Stroman, as co-chairs of this movement to kind of put it together. And then we've got the whole, with his leadership, kind of put between him and the president, put all the different cabinet members kind of on call to work with us and find a solution. And that's just been a lot of fun. And that was in 2021 when he kind of threw down the gauntlet, if you will. And that caused us all to kind of come together and figure out a solution. So the first thing was kind of figuring out, hey, what's the right location for it? What kind of funding can we put in place that's permissible? And from the university standpoint, how much can we borrow in terms of capacity? And when we put it all together, we've kind of landed where we do now, and that's a $340 million facility that will, again, have some elements of an operations building, but a full on-campus stadium that will be really great for us. It'll seat 35,000 seats. It'll have all the modern amenities that you expect from a new stadium today, which is so important because unlike maybe some facilities have been built this century, when you're leaving maybe a very old or dilapidated facility. We've been playing at Raymond James Stadium. It's a great facility. It's awesome. Our fans are used to good amenities, but it wasn't by USF for USF. It wasn't branded for us. It wasn't right sized for what we need. And that's what this is going to do. And it's also going to be a great engagement tool, not only to inspire even greater student life because they can all walk to the games now and be a part of that, but to also bring more of the USF alumni and the greater Tampa Bay community to campus, which I think is so important. We got 400,000 living alumni, and it's great when they come to a ball game at Raymond James, but they don't get to come to campus. They don't get to see what's happening on the university as a whole. And this will just be another great tool to kind of, as a next step of evolution for USF.
Michael, where on campus will the stadium be?
That's what I'm most excited about. It will be on the east side of campus, and it's right in the midst of our athletic district, which I already think is fantastic. We're really fortunate with some of the facilities that were here prior to my getting here and the ones we built now. But it is literally going to be adjacent just to the north of where we just built the indoor practice facility. It's just to the north of the current football practice fields. And it'll just round out a really concise footprint. And I keep saying I do genuinely believe it'll be one of the finest athletic districts in all of sports. Granted, I know there's some amazing ones out there, but what I like about it is not only the quality and the way we can plan and design for it, but the concise footprint. And some of the, because we're fortunate being relatively young, we've been able to use the master planning of the real estate to make sure we can make it really efficient. Whereas sometimes when a school might be a little bit older, 100 years plus, they end up having to build new facilities maybe on the other side of campus or disjointed or a mile away. For us to be able to have the chance with the real estate to kind of put it all together and essentially adjoining one another is going to make it really special for the district as a whole. And I just keep thinking about how good it already is for a student athlete at USF, but what it'll be like 3, 5, 10, 20 years from now when they have truly the best of the best and really an efficient way to learn, to study, and to ultimately train and ultimately win. So we're excited about what we like to suggest as being a model athletic department for modern times.
The city and the area have been really good to USF. And I'm sure now you're going to be able to have graduations there. You're going to let the high school championships go there. I mean, this is going to be a great facility that a lot of people in the Tampa area are going to be able to make use of, as well as the students and faculty and everyone at USF.
Yeah, I think it'll be a great complement to what is already what we call Team Tampa Bay. And we've got an amazing sports commission and the Tampa Bay Sports Commission. We've got all kinds of great pro teams that are very cooperative with each other, which is great between the Lightning, the Bucks, and the Rays and everything else. But it's really cool. We have a relationship with the Lightning where they book our facility, our current basketball facility. So they've got their hockey arena downtown. That seats about 18 to 20. Our basketball arena, the Yangling Center, seats about 10. Raymond James Stadium seats about 65. And then now we're going to be at 35. So when you think about either big concerts that don't need 65 but can't fit into 20, it's a nice sweet spot there. You think about soccer matches that we bring a lot of friendlies and international matches there that, again, usually 30 to 40,000 is like a perfect size for that. And then, as you mentioned, Gene, I think we'll have a lot of success bringing hopefully the College Cup on men's and women's soccer. We just started women's lacrosse. I think we could be a good home for men's and women's lacrosse there during Memorial Day weekend. I think we can host a great many things. So we're excited about it. But yeah, the way it fits into the whole menu, if you will, of sport and entertainment facilities in the Tampa Bay area, this facility really helps round us out nicely. So under our control to have an arena that seats 10,000 and a stadium seats 35,000, it'll be revenue streams for us, but it'll also just be a great connection point to bring people to USF.
Okay, big question. Going to be a gorgeous stadium, perfect facility. Team Tampa, how do you pay for a $340 million stadium?
Well, it's obviously been something we probably weren't ready for 10, 20 years ago, but we had to we're ready to make the plunge now. And basically it's been able to identify, obviously some great donors that have helped us get there. We've raised about $50 million toward it already. And
you've raised $50 million in outside money already?
Yes, sir. We sure have. It's been really heartwarming to see that. And then we essentially borrowed about 200,000 of it is what will help us pay, and we'll have to obviously pay that back for a little while. But basically, it's all coming from revenue streams, Gene, that we don't have now. We love being at Raymond James Stadium. We're grateful for it, but we don't get as much of the sponsorship we'd want. We don't get any of the F&B. We don't get the parking. We don't get the naming rights. So all these things that we now control are all things that we'll have to make sure pay our construction bill, so to speak. But then obviously it becomes a new injection of revenue streams for us, which are going to be crucial not only for right now, but for the future longevity of USF athletics, especially in light of the House settlement coming up that you can't share revenue if you're not making revenue. And that's
right.
This is just a smart and necessary step for us to do. And yes, it's it's costly now, but one thing's for sure, it's not going to get any cheaper. It's our time to do this, and that's why we're looking forward to making this a reality here in the next 2 years.
Now, you're going to be very fortunate. A lot of the older stadiums are having to renovate. I know Penn State has a gorgeous stadium, but they're going to have to work on the infrastructure. I think somebody's mentioned $700 million. So, um,
Yeah, we've got that at Penn State, even in our state. Florida State's doing a major rehaul of their stadium, and the Swamp is being planned. They're planning a major renovation. UCF, I know, even with a stadium less than 20 years old, is doing some major stuff to their facility as well. So, hey, everybody, it's good to see everyone in the state doing this, realizing not only to make it great for our respective student athletes, but all realizing that in this new uh, I'll call it the era of permissiveness and the changes in college sports, it's the revenue streams are more important than ever, and you've got to find them.
yeah, for sure. Not many teams. Not Let me put it another way. Not many institutions are bringing on new sports. You just played a couple of weeks ago your first women's lacrosse game at USF. How did that go? And do you have facilities for them? And
We do, we do. It's been awesome. We had 2,386 fans at our inaugural game a couple weeks ago. It was fantastic. Our team won. I think we're 5-2 right now, off to a great start. We've got a great coach in Mindy McCord, who helped actually start the program from scratch at Jacksonville University like 20 years ago. So she had experience building a program from scratch, and to come here to Tampa and do it here was really, really fun. But it's been great because you see, the state is, I mean, the sport is really growing at the scholastic level here in the state of Florida. And then you also see so many young women from the Mid Atlantic and the Northeast that really like coming down to Tampa to go to an AAU institution and play Division I lacrosse. So we've been able to recruit quite well, and it's been a real thrill. We're also adding beach volleyball. They're on campus now this year as a year in residence, but they'll be full throttle intercollegiate next year, and we're excited to welcome them, and that'll be another great sport for us. Hey, it's just something you got to grow with, right? We hadn't added a sport in over 20 years prior to this game a couple weeks ago. It's one that we're a big enrollment at USF, but I think we're up to 56% female as the student body, and it's important to continue to add opportunities that match that disparity as it relates to the student body makeup. So we're excited to add these opportunities and to find two sports that I think will be really good for our brand and be really successful at.
Lacrosse is really big around here. Boston College women, I think they played in either 5 or 6, maybe even 7 Final Fours, and they won 2 of them. They've got a terrific following. It's a great sport. It really is. And
We watched a lot about the Boston College program, what they've done the last 5 or 6 years. I mean, it's incredible in terms of the brand they've created and the kind of notoriety they've gained for the school. So we hope to emulate that at some point in the
and
future.
another thing, my grandchildren, they're not playing baseball. When I was young, we all played Little League baseball. There was no lacrosse or anything. Most of my grandkids and a lot of their friends are playing lacrosse at a young age and not baseball. So it's really a coming sport.
It's growing a lot. And the other sport we kind of keep an eye on, and it's nowhere near. I'm not here to say make a declaration that we're adding it or anything else, but as you've seen with the NFL and some inkling as it relates to the NCAA, a lot of flag football, particularly on the girls' side, and high school football is really growing. So I'll watch that very closely because I bet you here in the state of Florida that'll be something that will really grow scholastically, and maybe another thing for the future for us to
You
look
know
at.
what? I'm on the National Football Foundation board. I've been on there for about 20 years. And it's amazing that you bring that up because I think there's 90 or 100 high schools right now in the San Diego area that are playing women's flag football as a sport. And it's that and pickleball are the 2 largest growing sports in the country. So this is really really good that and women are going to be able to become involved in football more now that they're playing it and understanding it. I think it's great.
Yeah, no, I'm excited about that as a prospect as a sport, and you're right. Obviously, all the good efforts of the National Football Foundation, the NFL, and even in the NCAA in terms of looking at ways to expand new offerings.
Michael, you mentioned several times that USF is an AAU institution now, and that, along with the academic success of your student athletes, has been very impressive.
Well, that's one of the reasons. While even I've had a chance to be in pro sports, and I admire it and enjoyed that, being a part of it in the college setting, even with all the changes and the commercialism and everything, still part of the mission, and a big part of the mission is the educational aspect and the graduation, and seeing what people can do. And so we've been proud here to, have our student athletes perform at a high level. Every semester I've been here, we've achieved collectively over a 3.0 GPA. Our graduation percentage continues to go up and up. And that's just a real credit to our coaches, to our players, obviously, for doing the work, and to an amazing academic support unit that works really, really hard to make sure our student athletes get all the resources they need. But I'm super proud of that. Last year, all 21 of our teams and rosters individually had over a 3.0, and then collectively to have done that 20 straight semesters just speaks to their dedication. And part of it's in line with, again, as things have become more available to student athletes, as you had to deal with a lot in your career. There are so many restrictions, Gene, that, I mean, you couldn't feed them as much as you wanted to. You couldn't provide things that you wanted to. And now that things are happening, and I keep talking about this era of permissiveness, but everything from cost of attendance to the better nutrition options that you can provide them all the time. And now then Austin dollars, we could award different things for educational support, achievement. And then obviously what's transpired since 2021 on the NIL side of things, and then leading ultimately to House. So what I'm proud of from USF standpoint, again, being nimble and realizing that, hey, that's just the way college sports are changing. You've got to adapt to it, or you won't be able to be successful. And I'm just proud that since I've been able to be here and people have helped support us be able to meet every one of those new benchmarks, and hopefully that's what's going to continue to keep us to be very successful.
I've been out of the AD's chair now for 12 years. People ask me, how's it changed? I give them a simple example. In the evening for a snack, we were able to provide the student athletes with bagels, but we couldn't put any cream cheese on them. And that
Well,
was,
I mean, that's a good story and a good example. But you're right. I mean, even not too long ago, it's like, oh my God, you can't. Can you give them another sub sandwich from Subway? Can you not? That's a meal versus a snack. And now it's like, hey, just feed them to whatever you're able to feed them to, and try to make it. It makes a big difference. You can't be the elite athletes that these young men and women are at all levels of college sports without proper nutrition and proper everything else. And so that was just one step to get to where we are now, but it was a great step to move forward on. I mean, our nutrition bill since I've gotten here overall has definitely gone from under $1 million overall budget to probably as much as $2 or $3 million. That's,
sure.
again, it's essential. It's the only way you can keep up and properly nourish your players.
They need nourishment, they need sleep, and those are the things now that when we've got the money to be able to do some of that, we're finding much better performance. Michael, the last thing that I wanted to ask you about is everybody is talking about the house settlement and having to pay, um, or a cap being $20.5 million. Some people like Texas are adding scholarships, and they're also going to pay for the 20.5 million for the house. How are you going to handle things, you and your staff at USF?
Yeah, I mean, similar to what I was just saying, we're looking at it as another opportunity to share more of what we can provide. We've taken the approach that the first thing first was with the changes from scholarship limits to roster limits, and the ability to provide scholarships for all of that, gave us that first opportunity to look at, because our coaches needed to know last fall, right? Like, hey, how do I recruit to this? What are you going to be able to provide me? And so we were able to go and tell our coaches that, hey, the way we're going to look at it budgetarily, to be able to have our baseball team go from 11.7 scholarships that used to be the maximum to, maybe as much as 25, or they could get all the way to 34. So whatever that happens to be, we went ahead and we'll be adding over 100 scholarships through the support of of many donors to help make that happen across the board in athletics, which will be great across the board. And then we'll be able to figure out sometime before the budget is set, like how much. I don't believe we'll be at 20 million, but we're going to get as very high as we possibly can to be in that what I call institutional NIL sharing standpoint. So we're working really hard on that, and we'll probably follow a similar pattern of distribution to what we see is being suggested by the Power Four institutions. So we're just going to be the best we can be as fast as we can be, Gene. If we can get to the limit, we'll get there as fast as we can. But regardless, we know and we'll continue to strive to be at the very top of our current conference, and we'll strive to kind of look ahead to what we think's the whatever you want to call the Project D1 or whatever the future of Division One happens to be in the future. We just know we're going to do everything to invest to make sure we're on the top tier of Division One college athletics moving forward.
That's amazing, Michael. My hat's off to you. What a great job you and your staff and your president, the board of trustees, the people in Tampa. What a real success story. I know you're real proud of it.
Well, thank you, Gene. It's truly a great time to run with the Bulls. We've got a lot of people behind us and working with us, and we're very, very grateful. So thank you for the Vine to share some of the good news.
Well, we're out of time on this week's On the Fly. I'm your host, Gene DeFilippo, and our guest has been the multi-successful Director of Athletics at UCF, Michael Kelly. Michael, thanks for being with us. Congratulations on all the good things happening at your institution and in your area, and good luck with the rest of your sports this spring.
Thank you, Gene. Go Bulls.
Go Bulls.